Good morning, everybody. My name is Willem Stuulen, and I'm with Waternet. And Waternet is the water company of Amsterdam and its surroundings. We supply drinking water and take care of the discharge of wastewater, maintain the water levels, and make sure the surface water stays clean. And the drinking water is extracted in the dune area close to Amsterdam, and that's where I work. So I won't tell you anything about maintaining water levels or sell you the drinking water, but I'm going to tell you something about managing of Prunus serotina, also known as black cherry, in the Amsterdam dunes. But first, I'm gonna give you a short introduction in the Amsterdam Dunes. This is a map of Holland. Amsterdam is pointed, and the red circle points the dune area where I work, the Amsterdam Dunes. The area is 34 square kilometers large, and there's several functions. As I mentioned before, drinking water production is one of them. It also protects us from the sea. Lots of points in Holland lays below sea level. Also, a million visitors we have who enter the area, so there's quite an invasion as well. They walk and recreate in the area. And it's an N2000 area. We have several habitats in our area, of which 40% is open dune habitat. And the largest one are the grey dunes, so the dune grasslands. 60% of the dunes are scrub and woodlands, of which 23% are pine plantation and black cherry scrubs. And the data I showed you is from 2006, and we lost several hundred hectares of grey dune and scrub vegetation, sea buckthorn. It's this species. We already had some information about Prunus serotina, so I'll keep it short. It's an invasive species, and you don't want to have it in your area. You can trust me on that. It's a short history of the black cherry. From the 1930, it was introduced by man as a soil improvement. We had the policy back then that we want to fix the sand, and we didn't want to have any sand moving. And that's totally different now, because now we want to have dynamic dunes and keep the sand moving. So it was quite a different view. From the 70s on, it became invasive in the pine stands and in the woodlands. And from the 90s on, it increased all over the dune area. And it has several reasons why it did. So two important ones I highlight. On the left, you see a graph of the rabbit population in the dune area. You can see in the 90s there's a strong decline of the rabbit population. And on the right, there's a bar of the graph of nitrogen deposition in the dune area. And from the 70s, 80s, 90s, it was really, really high. And nitrogen makes the vegetation grow hard. And that are the two main reasons why the Prunus serotina became invasive in the open dune habitats from the 90s. In '89, we did a mapping of Prunus serotina. And yesterday we were talking about the early detection system. And I show you now a late detection system. This is 2004. There's a really long period in between, and you can see black cherry invade all over the dune area. And the dark red is a high density of black cherry. So from the dark red is 65% coverage of black cherry up to 100%. So from 2004, we did this survey every 4 years instead of more than 20 years. And from 2012, we also were mapping other invasive species. So we did research about some characteristics of invasive species, and we were interviewing other nature managers of other dune areas. And we made a list of the most invasive species and start monitoring and managing them as well. I think the problem is clear. Like the dune habitats are overgrown by black cherry. And it was really fast. And now I'd like to show you how it begins. You see here sea buckthorn. And below you see a fresh, small black cherry tree standing already. And they can grow in the shelter of the sea buckthorn. No cattle or animals can graze the black cherry because of the shelter of the sea buckthorn. After some years, this black cherry overgrows the sea buckthorn. Even more. This is easier. And after 10 to 15 years, the sea buckthorn habitat disappears and it changes into a high Prunus woodland. This is how it looks from the outside. A dense forest with nothing else but black cherry. And this was a nice great dune habitat, which is overgrown by black cherry as well. You can see, I don't know if it's good visible, but there's millions of black cherry juveniles standing in the grey dunes. Because the problem was quite big, we made a good plan, a strategic plan, starting our management in the south of the area and moving up north. There was already some discussion in the presentation before about using herbicides. We don't use herbicides because the area, a part of the area is protected because we are gaining drinking water. So it's not a good combination using pesticides and making drinking water. And we had other options for the management. So that's also an important reason why we didn't use pesticides. So we start quite in 2004 with our management with Prunus. And on the right you see the mapping of 2008 of black cherry. Despite our management, there was still a growth of 11% total in the area of Prunus. So it wasn't enough, the things we did. So we had to use another scale of our management, making it larger, more machinery, heavy machinery, and I'm going to show you what we did and how our management is, how it looks like in practice. First, we cut down the black cherry, so only the stump is standing. We cut them around half a meter above the ground. Then we making big transport roads, and often we were thinking like, what the hell? It's so intense, but there was no other option for us because we had so many black cherry, and all the wood has to be transported out of the area. And we also did at some places sod cutting, And the ground, the soil that came free with it was about 100,000 cubic meters. Also had to move out of the area because we don't want to have much organic material in our soils, in the dunes. There was some protest against cutting down the Prunus. Not that much, because we had quite some good communication on it. Every chance we had, we were communicating about the management, why we did it, and people in the beginning they didn't understand, but after a few years, people were understanding why we did it. So it's that's a really important thing to do: communicate about the management. With mobile crane, we excavated the trumps from the soil, and with cultivators we were preparing the soil for sod cutting at some places. Within the LIFE project, we did an area of 100 hectares of sod cutting. Also in the forest, we were managing the black cherry with mobile cranes. And using cultivators as well to eliminate the small black cherries. It's a really effective way in managing, but you can only do it when it's like a high density of black cherry, like up to from 80% or more, because everything will be destroyed. We also have our own flock of sheep, of 500 sheep and 100 cows. And in addition to it, we hired a shepherd with another 300 sheep. And the cows and the sheep we use to take care of the after management of the black cherry, because that's the most important thing there is. You can manage the black cherry by cutting them down, but if you do nothing afterwards, they grow back, and in 5 or 10 years you have another Prunus serotina woodland in your area, and yeah, you've lost lots of time and money. This picture shows you on the right the stump still in the ground of the black cherry, and on the left we removed them. On the right we did it at I think like approximately 200 hectares large area. We just cut down the black cherry, and on that places we start grazing with our shepherd with the flock, and they because of the grazing, the stumps of the black cherry died after some years. You can do it in 1 year if you return 6 times a year with a flock to places like this. In 1 season, you can manage to eliminate the black cherry, but with extensive grazing, it takes up to 7 years to eliminate the black cherry stumps. Also really important in our management are our volunteers. Mainly they focus on take care of the after management of black cherry by removing forgotten trees we forgot to manage. They cut down, and rejuvenation of black cherry they put out of the ground. So the management had some effect in a positive way. The green dots are the strong decline of black cherry, but there still was a long way to go. But for us, we were really lucky to have the LIFE fund. In 2012, we started the LIFE project, Source for Nature, which helped us tremendously with managing the black cherry. I show you the bar of our management costs. Started in 2005 with the management. The costs were quite low, and we from 2008 on, we had quite some budget to manage the black cherry. And in 2012, each year we had an extra of 250,000 euros to control the Prunus with live money. In total, it cost us 3 million euro. But last February, we were cutting down the last black cherry tree. So we're really now in control of the black cherry. So it's really it was a big effort, but we managed it. So it's really really a good thing, and you can get rid of the prunus. So that's a fact now. And the total cost of the live project was 2.4 million euro. So 50% we invested in managing the black cherry. I showed you this slide before in the beginning of the presentation. This was before management, and this is how it looks after. Most parts we did do a sod cutting, but it's an extreme difference after and before management. You see here sea buckthorn scrub with black cherry. And now it's gone. I already give you some recommendations. The most important ones are to detect it in an early stage, when it's easy to manage. It costs less money. And make no compromises in the management. It's important lessons we learn. Yeah. And communicate about the management. Yeah, we made some posters like wanted, reward of the Rosa rugosa. Yeah, we have several other invasive species. Not so problematic as black cherry is, was, but yeah, they are on our list, and we monitor them and manage them when they are in our area. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. So I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you, it was very interesting. I was wondering, what were you doing with all those quantities of soil full of seeds of Prunus serotina?
We sell it. We still have to pay for it. So we have the soil is used in on farmlands to make it a bit higher, so there's less water. They have less water problems. So to get out of the area, and it's used for the sand for beneath the roads or construction purposes, diverse functions.
But was there any treatment, because you have the risk to have Prunus serotina everywhere in those places?
No, because it will be covered up with another soil. Or it's used in agricultural lands, and there's lots of treatment on other species than the crops they want to grow. So that's no problem in the places where the soil goes to.
I don't know if you said where from is the new soil. And second question is, what have you done with have you do with all biomass?
The new soil. What was your question? What was your first question? I don't understand.
Because when you took off the soil,
yeah,
you get new one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, new. It was we just did some sod cutting, so only the first 10 centimeters we removed by crane.
Yes.
And beneath that sand is calcium-rich sand where dune species can grow. So there was a last act of management, scraping off the topsoil.
Okay, thank you.
And we had like, I think, 200,000 tons of biomass, and we sold it as biomass, so they made energy of it. Yes.
Did you examine the effects of soil cutting for animals in the soil?
If there were any effects for animals, the sod cutting we did? Yeah, of course. But we, on places where there were important species or we wanted to protect, like the sand lizard, we spared. We didn't do anything. Yeah. But in the Prunus woodlands, not so many species live. It's really only Prunus and not so many species. It's really poor. Sorry? Yeah, there will be insects and yeah, sure. Yeah, some individuals, animals, yeah, we removed, but it's yeah. The most important we could protect. So it's not so much side damage, if you mean that.
Are you doing some monitoring for the threatened species of sand dunes, or you did some effort for renaturation, or you have these well-preserved dunes in the vicinity, so you count on natural revegetation or natural spreading of the population of this wild species to this area now? Yeah.
There's lots of places we didn't do anything, and where the dune species are still growing, and there will be a natural recolonization of it. And we only we're start cutting the really top layer. Some places only 2 centimeters, so the sandbank of all the dune species will be remained. So we were really checking, like, in the field, how deep we had to do the sod cutting.
Thank you.
All right.
More questions? If not, thank you for this nice presentation. It was really a success story.